Good morning everyone. Welcome to Noida International University. I am Anupama Sharma, a chartered accountant by profession and head of the department, School of Business Management in Noida International University. Today I am here to deliver a lecture on taxation of income under the head salary. Before we move on to our lecture today, I would like to give you a brief introduction of the term tax. All of us have heard this term tax, but what actually it means. Tax is nothing but it is a form of public revenue which is collected by government from the public and it is utilized by government for the purpose of public welfare. So, every person who is earning income is supposed to pay tax to the government. Now, tax, when we say, it is classified under two categories. One is direct tax and indirect tax. Today we are talking about direct tax. Under indirect tax, what all are classified as indirect tax? It is excise, custom, VAT, sales tax and entertainment tax. Under direct tax, what all are classified as direct tax? It is income tax and wealth tax. Now, why do we classify this income tax as wealth and wealth tax as direct tax? Because the person who is earning the income, he is directly liable to pay tax on his income. Today we have taken income tax, and under income tax there are various incomes which are earned by a person and they are assessed to tax under this head of income. Now, when we say income tax, there are various heads of income because a person earns different types of income which are assessed to tax, but different types of incomes, they are not assessed to tax under one single head of income. They are assessed to tax under 5 heads of income under income tax laws. They are, the heads of income are salary, then house property, income from business and profession, income from capital gains, and income from other sources. Today we are going to discuss income under the head salaries and how it is taxed when a person earns income. Next please. Before we move on to the how the tax income earned by a person under the head salary is assessed to tax, we must know what salary means. Salary, as we know, it is a person, in case of a salary there is one employer and there is one employee. So, the first and foremost thing in case of salary or any income which is assessed to be taxed under this head of income, the first and foremost thing is that the relationship of employer and employee should be there. That means the payer and payee should have a relationship of employer and employee, or we can say relationship of master and servant. So, the payments which are made by payer or the employer to employee, they can be defined by various names like basic pay, wages, bonus, commission, perquisites, profits in lieu of salary and other retirement benefits. These are all classified as salary and they form part of income of a person who is earning salary from his employer. Next. Now, before we move on, there are certain provisions which to be considered when an income is to be assessed under the head of salary. As I explained earlier, the relationship of employer and employee is a prerequisite for any income to be assessed under this head of income. Exemptions from the head of salary, though such certain payments which are named as salary, but they are not assessed to be taxed under this head of income. Those exemptions are salary given to member of parliaments and MLAs because they are not the employee of government. Salary given to partners in a firm because partners are again not the employer of themselves, their own firms. Salary to directors of company, directors again they are the owners and promoters of the company, they are not in any case, they are the employee of the company. That is why these kind of payments, these three payments are not assessed to be taxed under the head salary. Next. certain important points before any income is to be assessed under this head. Remuneration for work other than the assigned duty is given to any person that should not be taxed under the head salary. That means, for example, if a person is employed as a lecturer in a university and he is being paid for setting of question papers, which is not his assigned work, and he gets paid for that work, this income will be treated as income from other sources and not as income from salary. An SSE can receive salary from more than one employer. That means it is not necessary that a person can have only one single employer. He can be serving as part-time employee to more than one employer. So what all income he is receiving from different employers, they will get assessed to tax under this head of salary. The basis of charge for charging any income under salary is accrual or receipt basis. That means if a salary becomes due to a person, he may not have received it. Even in that case, it is included in his taxable income. Or advance salary received by a person which has not become due, the year in which he receives the salary, advance salary, it will get taxed in the year in which he is receiving the advance salary. Next. Now to a layman, there are certain points which arise in his mind, whether certain incomes, do they form part of salary or not, like voluntary surrender or foregoing of salary. Does it amount to income of a person or not? Voluntary surrender or foregoing of salary is a waiver of receipt in the hands of employee. If a person decides not to receive the income which he has already earned, does not amount, that income is not taxable in his hands. It is certainly taxable in his hands because it is an application of income which he has already earned. Exemption to this is if the surrender of or foregoing of salary is in the national interest or he has donated it to certain national funds, it is exempted from income and it is not charged as taxable income in his hands. Then comes tax-free salary. When a person receives tax-free salary, whether that income which is already tax paid is included in his taxable income or not. The tax amount which employer pays on behalf of employee, it is a tax-free salary in the hands of an employee. For computation of taxable income of the employee, this tax paid by the employer is added back to his taxable income to find out his gross taxable salary. So it's certainly tax-free salary is taxable income of the person who has earned it. Now deductions out of salary, there are certain deductions which are done by the employer and net salary is paid to the employer. So for a layman, he may feel that such deductions, do they form part of salary? They certainly do form part of salary because these deductions, they are grossed up for computation of his net gross taxable salary, like provident fund or tax paid by the tax deducted by the employer. They are all added back for finding out the gross salary of the employee. Next. Now moving forward, we go to the components of salary. We all know that this salary is being earned by a person, but it can be named by different names are given to the payments which are received by the employee. It is basic pay, bonus, commission, allowances, after retirement benefits and perquisites. All these are salary and which are part of, these are the components of salary which are named by these names as we have already specified. Next. We will go into the details of computation of taxable salary, but to give you a broad idea that how taxable salary is computed when a person earns it. All the monetary receipt which an employee receives in the form of bonus, commission, wages, retirement benefits, taxable allowances, all the monetary receipts are grossed up. Then all the taxable perquisites, its value is found out, it is added to the salary, and then gross taxable salary is found out. Taxable perquisites. Perquisites here means the benefits which are given to an employee besides some salary which is attached to a particular position in the organization. They are known as perquisites. After the gross taxable salaries, gross total salary is found out, certain deductions are given under section 16 on account of entertainment allowance and employment tax. After this deductions, we get taxable income from salary on which a person is liable to pay tax to the government. Next please. Going back to the components of salary in detail. As already explained, basic pay, bonus, commission, by whatever names they are paid to the employee, they are fully taxable and they are included in the salary of the employee. Any arrear or advance received by an employee, they are also included in the year of receipt of this income. Already I had explained that basis of charge for salary is advance or receipt basis. So in case arrears are received because they have not become due earlier, the year in which they have been received, it will be taxed in the year of receipt. Though a person can claim relief under section 89 for this. Advance salary which has not become due but it has been received by the employee, it will be taxed in the year when it is received. Later when it becomes due, it will not be taxable. Commission on sales, this is again a part of salary and is treated as a part of gross salary and is taxed in the hands of the employee. Next. Now moving on to allowances. We have already, all of us are aware of this term allowances. What actually allowance means? Allowance is a fixed amount of money which is paid besides salary by the employer to an employee for meeting certain specific expenditures. They can be for official expenditures, they can be for meeting personal expenditures, but they are fixed amount which are paid along with the other salary. Next please. Now the types of allowances. There can be three types of allowances. Some allowances are fully taxable, some allowances are partly taxable and some allowances are fully tax free. Now let us see what all, let us go into the details of each and everything. Please move forward. Fully taxable allowances. There are certain allowances which are fully taxable by whatever name they are given by the employer to employee, unless and until they are specified as partly exempt or fully tax free. By whatever name such payments are made to the employee, they will become fully taxable. Certain examples of fully taxable allowances are DNS allowance, it is fully taxable, no exemption is allowed. City compensatory allowance, tiffin allowance, servant allowance, overtime allowance, family allowance, warden allowance and so on. Next. Now moving to partly taxable allowances. Now in partly taxable allowances, the first and foremost is house rent allowance. It is partly exempt and partly taxable. But before I move on how it is computed and how it is found out, let me just tell you that this house rent allowance is available only to those employees who are residing in rented accommodation. Those employees who are not residing in their own house, this exemption is not available to them and only for that period for which they are residing in the rented accommodation. This exemption is governed by section 10(13)(a) and rule 2(a). Now how the house rent allowance exemption is found out? It is computed and the basis is the three figures are found out and out of these three whichever is least, that is allowed as exemption and balances becomes taxable. First one is house rent allowance received by the person. Whatever amount he receives from the employer as house rent allowance, that is the one. Second one is an amount equal to 50% of salary in case of metro cities like Kolkata, Mumbai, Delhi and Chennai. If a person is residing in any of these four cities, he will be allowed 50% of salary as HRA. Then the excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. That means he might be receiving, for example, 10,000 of HRA and he might be paying 11,000 per month as rent. So in actual, rent paid is something else and HRA received is something else. So the third computation is in respect of the excess of rent paid over 10% of salary. Next, I have just told you that 10% of salary or 50% of salary. Now what actually salary means for the purpose of computation of HRA? For the purpose of HRA, because a person is receiving, an employee is receiving so many components as salary. So what all should be included for the purpose of 50% or 10% under salary? For the meaning of computation of HRA, meaning of salary here means only three things are to be included. One is basic salary, second is commission on sales, that means commission which is received for the purpose of achieving turnover, and third one is DNS allowance, only that part which forms part of retirement benefit out of that DNS allowance. So these three total of these three figures will form salary, and this salary out of this 50% or 10% is computed for the purpose of computation of HRA. Next, moving on to Another partly taxable allowance is entertainment allowance. Again, there is a computation for this entertainment allowance, but here entertainment allowance is not allowed as exemption, it is allowed as deduction. That means it is first included, the whole of the entertainment allowance is included in the gross taxable salary, and thereafter at the end it is allowed as deduction, and it is given to non-government employees, to government employees. To non-government employees, when entertainment allowance is paid, non-government employees, they are fully taxable in respect of entertainment allowance, nothing is deductible for them. In case of government employees, again it is to be computed that how much is allowed as deduction. Out of 3 figures, least of 3 is allowed as deduction. Rupees 5,000, 20% of basic salary, and or the amount of entertainment allowance. Whichever is least out of these 3, that will be allowed as deduction, and balance will become taxable. Next. Now allowances, partly taxable allowances. There are prescribed allowances which can be divided into 2 categories, because we are continuing with the partly taxable allowances. These allowances can be classified into 2 categories, one for meeting official purposes and one for meeting personal expenditure. Next please. The allowances which are given for the purpose of official expenditure, that means an employer pays a fixed amount of allowance to an employee for meeting official expenses. Now the amount of allowance, how much is exempt? It depends. Official expenditure allowances, their exemption is dependent on the amount spent by the employee. So exemption is the amount of allowance or the amount spent for a specific purpose for which the allowance is given. Whichever is lowest, that will be allowed as exemption, rest will become taxable. For example, please next. For example, travelling allowance. If a person goes on a tour and the employer has paid a certain amount as travelling allowance, whatever amount he spends on touring, on travelling, that will be allowed as exemption, and that has to be supported by documentary evidence like bills, invoices. That will be allowed as exemption. Balance which he is not able to spend or which does not get spent by him, the rest of the amount will be taxable in his hand. Similarly, conveyance allowance for giving for meeting official trips during office hours, whatever allowance he gets, whatever he spends out of this conveyance allowance, that will be exempt, balance will become taxable. Uniform allowance, which is the for the purpose of any allowance given for the purpose of towards the cost of purchase or maintenance of uniform which is to be worn during office hours, that will be allowed as exemption, balance will become taxable. Daily allowance, similarly for official, whatever is spent is allowed as exemption, balance becomes taxable. Next. Now coming to partly taxable allowances only, but the second category, allowances given for meeting personal expenses. Now here it is not, the exemption does not depend on the amount spent by the employee. It depends on the amount of allowance or the amount specified under income tax law. Whichever is low, that will be allowed as exemption, balance will be taxable. Next. There are certain allowances like children education allowance, amount already specified that 100 rupees per child per month for a maximum of 2 children. This is allowed, this is the amount here is specified. So whatever amount is given by employer as in respect of children education allowance, only this much amount, that means 100 rupees per month per child up to a maximum of 2 children, that means for 2 children 200 rupees per month will be allowed as exemption, balance whatever he is receiving will become taxable. Similarly, hostel expenditure allowance, transport allowance, special compensatory border area, tribal area allowance, all the amounts are specified by the taxation laws and only that amount will be exempted, balance will become taxable. Next. There are the certain other allowances in partly taxable which are specified, the amounts are already specified and they will be allowed as exemption, rest will become taxable. Next. Now coming to fully exempt allowances, we have already done fully taxable allowances, partly taxable allowances. Now coming to the last category of allowances, fully exempt allowances, that means fully tax free allowances. There are 3 types of allowances in respect of which an employee is not chargeable to tax. These are allowance to government employees outside India. Any allowance given by Government of India to Indian citizen for rendering services outside India, such allowance is not taxable in his hand, that is totally tax free. Second one is allowance given to High Court and Supreme Court judges, they are not taxable in their hands. And the last one is allowance received from United Nations organizations. So, allowance given by United Nations organizations to its employees is not taxable in their hands. So, this is all for this session. We will continue further in this in detail in respect of salary, taxation of salary in the next session. Thank you.